So we're just wrapping up the Interparliamentary Union session here at COP29, and the UK has had a really big impact on the final outcomes that have been agreed here. So the key things that we were pushing for is, one, making sure that the outcomes document really recognise the scale of climate finance that is now needed. There's been a new expert report that's been published in the last few days that shows that we need something like £6.5 trillion worth of climate finance to be mobilised. Making sure that that was at the core of what the Parliament's agreed was something that was really important to us. But second, we've got to make sure that the right level of public finance is in place to deal with what is essentially a public good, which is saving the planet. So it's been brilliant to see the UK take a lead on this by pledging about £11.5 billion over the next few years to make sure that we're doing our bit to ensure that climate finance is in place. But the second thing that's got to be done is we've got to make sure that the international financial institutions like the World Bank and the IMF are also big enough to deal with the scale of the crisis that we're now having to address. So we've done a lot of good things, making sure that they are better organisations over the last few years. Now we've got to make sure that they are actually bigger institutions. And here again, as a founder member of the IMF and the World Bank, the UK has got an awful lot what it can do to help lead that agenda. We needed to include in the outcome document today lots of language about phasing out fossil fuel and fossil fuel subsidies. Lots of people ask, well, where's the money going to come from for climate finance? Well, remember, the world is spending something like £5.5 trillion pounds a year on carbon subsidies. So getting rid of those inefficient subsidies is one of the things that we can do to actually release the money that we need for climate finance. And then, of course, we need to make sure that organisations like the World Bank and the IMF are actually working with democratically elected politicians in the design of their programmes, so that those programmes are actually effective and they've got proper oversight and transparency, so you minimise the risk of corruption and money going in to the wrong places. So it's been good for us to help make sure that parliaments have agreed on the right outcomes here at COP. We're about to go into the final week of COP, where a lot of political horse trading really gets sort of quite sharp. But what's really struck me this week is how UK leadership is back. Ed Miliband and the team have been really kind of out in the front in setting ambitious targets for our nationally defined contributions to reduce carbon. We're in the lead on climate finance too. And you've just had a lot of ministers here. Ultimately decisions are made by those people who show up. And so seeing UK ministers here in force, helping lead the discussion, as we've tried to do here amongst parliamentary colleagues, frankly, it's been a breath of fresh air.